It's our Week 5 Monday morning injury update, and it's a pretty long list. I'm Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points morning lineup for Monday, October 2nd, 2023. Now, any stats you hear in this program will be from the Fantasy Points data suite unless otherwise noted. The data suite is currently 75% off at fantasypoints.com, and you can check it out with a free 7-day trial. You can also subscribe to any fantasy content package already discounted because the quarter of the season is over with another quarter discount. Code GURRIFIC25, GURRIFIC 25 for another 25% off at checkout. And bye weeks are starting, so you want the best waiver wire content in the industry. You'll get it at fantasypoints.com. Now let's start at quarterback. Several notable quarterback injuries happened in week number 4. Most serious appears to be the Steelers' Kenny Pickett, who was ruled out with a knee injury following a 4th down sack pretty much immediately. Now, per Jerry Dulac, longtime beat writer of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Pickett will have an MRI to determine the severity of the injury. Now, of course, Pickett was atrocious in that game before the injury, going 15 of 23 for 114 yards and an interception, and Mitchell Trubisky was not much better after coming into the game. It is high time the Steelers consider doing something with offensive coordinator Matt Canada, because the guy isn't very good at his job, quite frankly. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert was probably the most high-profile injury at the position. He played part of the second half against the Raiders with a splint on the middle finger on his non-throwing, meaning his left hand. There is a possible dislocation or laceration per our Dr. Edwin Porras. Now, there obviously would be ball security issues with him playing the game with a big contraption on his finger, and also they might have to censor something for the children given the location of the splint. However, Herbert was able to play through it, and the Chargers are going on bye in week 5. It's a well-timed bye for the Chargers. Justin Herbert should be able to get right, as will running back Austin Eckler. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford took a pounding in an overtime win against the Colts. Per Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic, Coach Sean McVay called it a hip injury for Stafford. Now, McVay said he also expects Stafford to play in week 5 against Philadelphia, but of course, the Eagles' defensive line can dish out quite the beating as well. And even though he didn't get hurt in week 4, I thought it was incredibly stupid for the Saints to let Derek Carr play through an AC sprain because he was completely ineffective. Carr went 23 of 37 for 127 yards in the Saints' loss to the Buccaneers. I thought it was so clear he couldn't push the ball down the field, and it completely limited their offense. I have no idea why they didn't start Jameis Winston in the game, but at least it got Alvin Kamara, who was returning from a suspension, into the record books. Kamara caught 13 of 14 targets for 33 yards. You will not be shocked to learn that is the fewest in any game in NFL history from a player with 13 or more catches. Less than half that of James Wilder's 71, which was the previous record. Look, I love the role for Kamara, and I love PPR if I had him in PPR. If I was going against Alvin Kamara in PPR, I hate PPR. So it fully depends on which side of the ledger you were on, but that's how ineffective Derek Carr was against the Buccaneers. Now, at running back, Gavon Williams is hurt again. That bizarre Bears-Broncos game, which was never not going to be bizarre. Unfortunately for the Broncos, Gavon Williams suffered an injury after just 2 carries. Now, our Dr. Edwin Porras believes despite the Broncos calling it a hip injury, he thinks it could be a potential groin strain from video, which could be a multi-week absence for Gavon Williams. Now, all offseason I was drafting Samaje Perine in the event that Gavon Williams was going to miss time with some of the injuries that he's had. But the guy who really looks better is undrafted rookie running back Jaleel McLaughlin out of Youngstown State. Go Penguins. He had some serious juice in that game against the Bears with 7 carries for 72 yards and 3 catches for 32 yards and a touchdown. He's scored 2 touchdowns so far in his NFL career. Yeah, he's got 2. Jahmyr Gibbs has none. Such is the state of the running back position, and such is Sean Payton's obsession with undersized UDFAs. But this McLaughlin looks like he's got some serious juice and should be available in almost every single league. Now, the injury list at wide receiver is long, so let's go to the most notable injuries. There doesn't appear to be anything overly serious, but multiple big-time fantasy wide receivers did suffer some injuries in week 4. First of all, let's go with T. Higgins of the broken Bengals offense. It is a rib fracture for T. Higgins per Ian Rappaport. He was ruled out of the second half of that game after suffering the injury close to the end of the first half in the loss to the Titans. He could miss some time, and notably, the Bengals have a week 7 bye, so maybe 2 weeks, and then off in week 7 for T. Higgins. Unfortunately, in a broken offense, this is looking like a potential kind of fantasy-altering type of injury. Now, Mike Evans of the Buccaneers, he suffered a hamstring injury, and he missed the entire second half of the Buccaneers' win over the Saints. Now, the Bucs are on bye right now, and given Mike Evans' history of hamstring injuries and the fact that he's 30 years old, it was probably smart for the Buccaneers to rest him in that game. You hope he can get back in week 6 with the Buccaneers going on bye. It is if ever there could be perfect timing for an injury, that probably is it for Mike Evans. The Raiders' Davante Adams gutted out a shoulder injury. I was fearful when he went down in the first half against the Chargers that he suffered a collarbone injury, but it was great to see him gut out that injury and have a pretty sizable role in the second half for Las Vegas. Thanks for joining me for this edition of the Fantasy Points Morning Lineup. Look, bye weeks are starting, everybody. We've got bye weeks from now until like the end of November. It is a long journey. There's going to be some players you don't want to be starting who you're going to have to start. So let us tell you over at fantasypoints.com which of those players are the best options. And we have names for those of you in the deepest of deep leagues who you might just have to pick up and start just to get a couple of points. I know those lineup decisions are coming. So remember to subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, comment on the video if you enjoyed the content. Again, catch me over at fantasypoints.com with code GURIFIC25 and join our subscriber Discord. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you this week with more content.